We have our disclaimer at the front for you. You are automatically muted. Your cameras are off. We will record this and share it to YouTube, hopefully next week. It does take us a little while sometimes to do all the videos. So we try to do 3 to 5 a week. So we have one person editing them all for us. So give them a week or 2 to get them uploaded. And share that with any friends that may ask you about tackle boxes. And then we'll have the Q&A tab open and the chat every so often when I have some questions for you guys. Maybe what's your favorite tackle gear? And then also we will have a poll for you popping up on how often you go fishing. It is anonymous. Just curious on your guys' expertise. Feel free to answer all those. And then we'll stop it in just a minute. And then if we can share the results when we get everybody in. Thank you all for joining. All right. Oh, there we go. Awesome, a few times a year. All right, we have one professional on here. All right. So my name's Abby Zarnecki, and try to get closer. My name's Abby Zarnecki. I do the Angler Education program for the Southern Region for Nevada Department of Wildlife. We have many outdoor education programs, all just to get people out. All of them are always free. And then Nicole Haddad is our volunteer coordinator and all around awesome person and my go-to moderator. So she'll be helping with questions. She'll interrupt me as we go and let me know what kind of questions you all have. And if you want to participate with us and go to your tackle box as well, feel free to grab it, ask us some questions along the way, raise your hand, that middle option on the bottom if you want to talk and have more of a detailed question that you don't want to type out. But definitely thank you so much for coming, and we'll get going on what your tackle box should look like. So any tackle box, you can see our original one here. This is my newer, more convenient one. That way I can throw it over my shoulder. I can put it behind me if we're trying to find a certain spot. So I like the bag one. But you do have to have a few accessories with it, so it can add up. This is probably the $20 to $30 option, and then there's a even more convenient one. So any of your tackle gear you want to go through, weights, the split shots and hooks, those are the main things you need for an urban pond, and the multi-tool to fix everything up. So we'll go on. Make sure you research your water. So we have 4 to 6, depending on what you consider our urban area of urban fishing options. Research it, go to Google. People will post pictures of their catches on there, on FishBrain. We have a few pictures here of options. Facebook has groups. YouTube has guides that go out to these areas and videotape and share it for everybody. Some catch and cooks from Sin City. Brendan Glazier does Bryn's Fishing Life. He kayak fishes on Lake Mead, and literally that's 40 minutes from Vegas. Pinterest actually has a lot of really cool tips and tricks. And takemefishing.org is one of our go-tos, totally grant-based, and they share a lot of information for you guys for first-time angling and certificates. So we'll keep going. All right, so right on into this. So we'll go full screen on the tackle box here. So give me 1 minute on my camera. It'll get a little shaky for a minute, and I'm going to zoom right on in here. All right, and then I'll pull stuff out as we go. So I'm going to go write down a checklist from takemefishing.org. All right, so you want extra fishing line just in case it breaks. So anything, whatever your favorite is, monofilament, braided, whatever, you just want extra just in case it gets really jammed up and you just want to start from scratch. You're urban fishing, you're not going too far out, so you have nothing to worry about as far as time-wise. And I even recommend the night before, go through all this, check your fishing rod and reel and line, put on a movie the night before you plan to go out, and give yourself a half hour, honestly, to watch a TV show and restring it if it's been a while. So there are a few tricks in here, just a warning. A few special items that are hard to find sometimes, especially now. All right, so then we want to check for lures and flies. So I do have flies. I do fly fish, and then usually I put on a bait rod. So I do have some flies. I have some special lures. We have this one back here with a nice, awesome rattle trap. Spinner bait for those bass. Covered up the hook with tape. You can always do that. You don't have to worry about it. And then I just keep this one in the original box and squeeze it in the side. So you can see it has a nice little UV tail on it. And as temperatures cool off in November, it's usually right around Thanksgiving, we will start stocking trout. So for the kids, highly recommend these awesome eggs. They're totally reusable. So get closer on that. Has a little bit of the shimmer on it. So you can see they've been dropped. Too bad you can't smell it. It smells just like a worm, honestly. But it has a little glitter in there as well. Sorry, there we go. Also, what I was saying about the trick is I actually get a few together to use the sparrows across the yard. Is I take garlic power eggs, if you can find these. So the garlic option is actually the brown. You can see from the top, it's clear gold and natural. So natural is the brown. But I add in some of these orange shiny ones. That way I can switch them up depending on what the trout are actually biting on. And then it all smells like garlic. So that way you don't have to have so many different containers in your bag. Just make sure that lid is tight. Power bait, this one's actually lasted one of the longest. This is, you can see, very original. Some of the smaller towns have it up north. Make sure it is squishy, so you can push on it. I did just have to throw one out. I did do a check before we went live. It was shaky and had dried up. So make sure that lid is nice and tight. And again, some other garlic containers with the solid orange and half glitter and yellow. So some of the favorite colors that they like. And just in case they're feeding on little minnows, I do have a pack. This one's kind of yucky, but little pack of green minnows there that you can hook up. And they just look like little fish, but they're green, so it's more of an attractant. So make sure I'm going down the list. Bobbers, especially right now, depending on where you go, there are so many weeds. So the benefit to the bobber, unfortunately on a windy day, not very beneficial, but benefits to this bobber or on a windy day, you fill these water ones up with about most of the way. It'll get out over the weeds, but you won't get caught in the weeds. It'll be easier to come to the top of the water. That way you're not pulling through the weeds. And so when the summer heats up, or the water heats up in the summer, and you have all that light on the water for so long, because the days are longer, right? It just creates aquatic vegetation everywhere, especially down here because it's so warm. So This one is good on a windy day because it has the water, it'll kind of hold it more in place. This one's this nice, solid, calm day. Still in the morning when it's cooler outside, but, and then like 3 feet below, that way you're out past the weeds, but you're down low enough where the water's a little cooler. All right. And they come in all different sizes. It's whatever you're going to be able to see on the water. So this one you can see is a little smaller there. So it's whatever you can see, it'll float just like this. And then make sure if you have any questions on how to hook it up, you always want to start towards the top eye on the top, and then where the line and your bait's coming down like a worm or something, that's going to come off the bottom. All right, put those back in there. All right, so we'll go on. So when you're a volunteer with Nevada Department of Wildlife, you get a nice little kit. You can get these at any of the sporting goods stores too. Nice simple kit, and it latches. The good and bad is obviously this can break off. So sometimes these little dollar ones are even better, but look how many you can fit in here. So I have 3 different little ones. And for an urban pond, you do not want a lot of weight. Why? Because there's so much aquatic vegetation. Honestly, year round, because of the trees all over the pond. And the plants that they plant nearby, they just grow right out into the pond, and you don't want to get stuck on those roots. So these are almost too, I'll lay them down side by side. So these are honestly almost too heavy for an urban pond. I definitely recommend these. They are definitely lightweight. It's 1/8, or sorry, yes, I believe they're 1/8. But nice little bell. It's only maybe an inch. You can see those. They pull really well through the weeds. They are elementary school kid tested. And just one of these, little split shot there, pinch it right down, and you're good to go. So this, you could honestly get everything you need for an urban pond in this little tackle box. You could squeeze in your bobber, and you're good to go with this and your fishing rod and reel. And also the hooks are over here. Red is a great enticer for bluegill. So you could pretty much take this little red hook, put a mealworm on it, and you are good to go. Catch those bluegill and green sunfish. And also on the side, a swivel. And I've heard that these are really hard to find. So plan ahead. The stores are trying to keep stuff in stock, but everyone's doing outdoor recreation. So be very careful with that and keep that in mind. When you're getting ready to go, it's really hard to just grab and go these days. Swivels are great because you can add a line and leader. So I'll leave that here and show you the front pocket. So this is where I keep my steel leaders for pike up north or anything with major teeth, and that I want off the bottom. And then you can get these awesome little packs, and it has it already hooked that you put on the swivel with the hook. So you can just switch out the bottom as you go. Just to switch out the leader part. We'll go on to different size hooks. So I have this little one here, but then over here, I have this other one, and we have some plastic, little shad looking fish, which are easy to take out to Lake Mead. Don't recommend them for the urban ponds because most of the fish really don't eat them. I do have some catfish too that you can stick some bait on. And with that said, I'll go over to this side pocket. So this bag has become definitely my favorite. On this side pocket, I can put 2 little stink baits on the side. The little crawfish, if there's crawfish in the water, and shrimp because catfish love shrimp. So you can just put this on this tube and have this hanging off a bobber right off the bottom. So definitely, like I said earlier, know your waters, know how deep it's going to be, get a guesstimate because catfish are going to be right off the bottom. and they don't like the light. They definitely like shadowed, shaded areas. All right. Put that back over there. Also, some of these tubes are great. Little attractants, wiggle through the water. So all this in 2 little tackle boxes, different size hooks, and some jig options too. We have some crappie in the Overton Arm and up at Eagle Valley. So it's only 3 hours away. All right. So I do have, it's bath time too. So I do have some plastic, some shad 4-inch strikers. And I have this fish already rigged up. And I thought, yeah, I do have one worm already rigged up. I'll just stick that right through, and then that way it's a more of a weedless hook, right? So you have your plastic, so all this can squeeze on in. Nicole, are there any questions?
Yes. One question was about, what kind of weighted line is good for river fishing. So maybe you could speak to the difference between the different pounds lines and the urban ponds versus the lake and the river.
Definitely, thank you. The weighted lines or the lines itself are all going to depend on the species you're going after. So urban ponds are normally stocked fish, and we stock them only half a pound to maybe a pound if you're lucky for like catfish. So honestly, it's going to be really hard to get anything really big. So definitely can go with the 6 to 8 to 10 pound line, and that way it's a little thinner, and it's more sensitive for the beginning fisherman or little angler. And so then once you're out at like Lake Mead, and actually this one for my example, I do have thinner line too. This is a thicker one, but I like it because it's green, right? Matches our water, especially in the summer. This is 20-pound test, but the beauty of this one is going to be great for Mojave and Lake Mead. The water's greener, it'll blend in more. It'll also hide in the light spectrum. So fun fact to look up later on, or check one of our other webinars. We've talked about that before. This will be nice and thick, and also harder for striped bass or anything with teeth to cut through. And just stronger to hold it all together. But because you can see how thick that is, you're going to want a really good hook, or I'm sorry, a really good knot. So I wouldn't go with an improved clinch knot. I would do like a double, like an over-under hook. But that's another webinar. So we'll do knots another night, or feel free to call and we can do a webinar, like a in-person, well, online in-person class, since you can't do in-person classes. So back to, yeah, for urban fishing, just a nice lightweight, really almost surprisingly thin line, but definitely fresh. Because when you go with the lighter, thinner lines, they will either deteriorate in the sun or the heat. So depending on where you store all your equipment, and dust actually will break it down too. You may want to switch it out every year, even if you don't use it that often. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, speaking of the urban spots, we have a question that says, you mentioned 6 local fishing spots. What are the 6? And I answered with Sunset Park, Lorenzi Park, Veterans Memorial in Boulder City, and Floyd Lamb. Are there any that I'm missing?
I would add, so the where I was going with 6 is either Cold Creek, and that is just trout. So that's more of a winter and early spring fishery. And then Beatty Pond, so that's 2 hours north. And I said it's urban for Pahrump or Beatty, like more of our rural areas. So to Pahrump, Beatty's kind of their urban pond. And actually, one more to add, so maybe we'll go with 7, is Mesquite has a little urban pond as well. at Hayton Park. So it depends on what urban you are. And then up north, there's tons of urban ponds throughout Reno. Ely has come in. Elko has South Fork and a few others, and Rivers, they have a lot of options up there. So, but for down here, we have mainly 5 are our main core ponds. Any others?
That is looking like all for now. I will let you know.
All right, awesome. All right, so then we'll go on to tools. So in this big one, this is just my, honestly, my backup. If I forget to refill any of my other tackle boxes, never hurts. Or if I'm out with people, I do, this is honestly my personal tackle box, but I also take it with me on the job because I know I have this stuff in here for my kids that maybe I'm missing something for someone else. But I have, honestly, these are pretty amazing. A nice beginning set has there's needle nose pliers with the wire cutter in the middle, great for fishing line. Can get those anywhere and not much at all. Steel flip shots as well in here as backup, and some other even smaller urban pond weights, literally just the size of this little number 10 hook. And number 10 hooks aren't bad for the urban ponds. Think of how small those bluegill are. Their mouth is really, really small. And definitely if that trout bites it and you get a good hook, this would be great to catch that trout as well in November, December around the holidays. And then another smaller bobber in here if it's a great day. And if I need it to be not too tight, so like if the fish is gonna bite and you have to pull this hard bobber down, it actually might scare it off because it's like, why am I getting tension? So if the fish are kind of smart and sensitive, I would go with a smaller bobber too. So make sure you have options. And you can see, again, it all fits in here. Also, I throw 4 towels in and just fold them up, especially these shop towels, because you can get them wet and dry. We're using just like a rag. Put that back in there. And say you catch an awesome fish. So many stringer options. This is one of my favorites. Had this one probably 20 years. Can tie it around a rock. Sorry, little noise, extra noise. Tie it around a rock, scoop it through your chair, anything to hold it down, and then clip the fish through the gill if you're going to keep them, only if you're going to keep them. And since we're talking urban fishing, just a reminder, it's 3 fish total. Oh, so back here, I'll get a little closer. Back here, I have a little gooey fish, and I left the line on it, so I can just hook it up to a swivel. The reason I have this is if my friends or anybody brings a little kid that's really not ready to fish but wants to practice casting, and you have some 8 or 9-year-olds that actually want to fish, the beauty of this is the 4-year-olds think that they're fishing all the time and that they're catching a fish every time. So this is a nice, awesome parent trick right here, a little calming for everybody. So it comes with most of the basic beginning kits. And that way it looks like a fish too, instead of just using a bobber or something. I do have like fire starter in case we get stuck in the middle of nowhere. First aid kit as well. Pen to write down if you catch something awesome. Actually, and then my Leatherman that I've also had for probably 15 years with a scale on it, with a, or I mean ruler on it. And then that way, again, options for people I'm with. This is kind of the family tackle box. Oh, have to share my favorite trick. So I have a car, I have a smaller vehicle. So we do the kids fishing poles are all not break in half, but then, you know, take apart 2-piece rods. So what I do is I take them and put them in half, hook the hook around one of the eyes, and then I take one of these hair ties. You can get a big pack anywhere online or at the store. And the benefit of this instead of a rubber band is it holds better and it doesn't pinch on the line or mess up the line at all. It's cloth, but you just tie this around both ends, and then that way you don't have to worry about the line getting hooked on anything. Even if you have a truck, it's nice to have the 2-piece rods with kids just for storage and all, if you're doing extra fishing rods. So one of my last things to recommend is a first aid kit for Band-Aids. Somebody always gets a hook in their hand. I kept this for the kids too, and it's just an example of how they can hook up their weight that came on the label for the bobbers, the weighted water bobbers. So it shows you how to hook it up, and then the leader, and then you just adjust it with the water on how far up or down you want it in the column. All right, questions?
We are looking good on questions. Jim contributed in the chat that slip bobbers are also very useful.
Yes, yeah, they can move up and down. Again, yeah, that's great to help adjust. Thank you, Jim. In the back tackle box, we have our go-to shad lure there, more flies options with the little poppers there. Looks kind of like our desert cricket or grasshoppers. Also the different kind of stringer, classic metal, and our fillet knife. Just in case. The fish has to be dead before it leaves, but they also they do want to know it, but you can gut it and then just leave the skin on and do the skin at home. And then this has the sheaths. You don't have to worry about cutting yourself until you pull it out of the sheath. Oh, and then just in case, bait on the line, 550 cord or any heavy duty cord to help in case you had a long day and the kids are tired of not helping anymore. Can't go wrong with having a cord to help carry your tackle out, and honestly, trash bags. And Nicole, if you want to show that next slide. So we're going to go into our PSA, public service announcement. Please recycle and take care of your garbage. Bring bags. It can't hurt to have bags for either your snacks or for your extra fishing line. Berkeley has a return program, and Bass Pro Shop actually has containers in the store to return your fishing line. Most of the parks also have Boy Scout projects where you can put the fishing line in receptacles and then we'll recycle for you. And we're actually working on redoing a bunch of those as well. As soon as we can get out and do more volunteer projects together. So yeah, recycle and make sure you throw your stuff away. Carry a bag out for yourself and maybe your neighbor if they got hectic and it was a windy day. And then I think that's it. So keep practicing responsible recreation. Have fun out there. Contact me if you have any questions. Thank you for coming. There's a survey on your way out. So please let me know what you liked, didn't like, what you'd like to see next time. And check out any of our other conservation education programs as well that answer any last minute questions too.
We just have one comment. Thank you for talking about recycling. And yes, that is very important to us. We do see a lot of trash around the urban ponds, whether that be trash, like Abby said, or just tackle kind of trash. So thank you for respecting that as well.
Definitely. Thank you guys. And yeah, please help. And can't hurt to help somebody along the way too. So thank you all for joining.
One last thing, Abby, we had a question about fly tying classes in the Q&A box, and I did link our recorded webinar about the bass fly tying, but it sounds like we might have some interest in some more.
Yeah, so live-wise, I haven't done a lot down here. Definitely my main focus down here is warm water species. International Fly, IFS, International Fly Fishers. They actually have a series right now on popper, so I do recommend that one. And he was really great. I actually watched him myself last night to see if I was get any cool pointers for you guys too. And then Jan from our Western region, he has some great ones recorded as well. So the benefit of watching the recorded ones too is as you're tying, you can hit pause. So definitely look up those. His are definitely more trout based. So there'll be those. And then Joe Doucette from the Eastern region should have some too. And then yes, I will be doing some more fly tying as well. And since this is going longer than we all had anticipated and not being able to do live classes, we will also do some fly fishing instruction as well.
Do you have any recommendations for fly fishing at Lorenzi Park as far as what kind of flies to use maybe?
Right now, yeah, actually, if you Google it, we have a recorded one, I think on our website too, or on our Facebook page. Right now is, let me get one for you, is a Griffith Snat. So there's this one with red in it. Let me get my hand behind here. There you go. Hopefully it doesn't blow away. There we go. So Griffith Snat there. It has red and yellow. The sunfish are definitely going to be really receptive to this. Also a hungry, well, not really bass there. And then catfish, honestly for catfish, he was saying parachute Adams for carp. So anything that works for carp can definitely work for catfish as well. But I would definitely try Griffith Snat with some red in it as well. Let me see if I can find the other one. It has a red tail that kind of looks like that one. So they come in all different kinds and sizes. And I think I have it in my other bag. Oh, here we go. So put that there. Nice red tail, and they'll chase that all over. And then for Lorenzi Park, there's just a bunch of little ponds, or I'm sorry, little bushes along the pond. So I definitely recommend roll casting as well.
I think that's all the questions we have.
Great, thank you guys for coming again, and hopefully we'll see you again. We're gonna take next week off for programming for fishing, but we'll do another one the following week. So hopefully we'll see you all in a few weeks, and enjoy any of our other programs, and please send us a quick survey answer Q&A. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye.